knew that I wanted to make money and get rich. I was worried that I would get stuck on the corporate ladder. The plan was working. I had the freedom to quit if I wanted to, chase every bucket list dream that I ever had. Then, from all-time highs down 72%, I listed my home for sale. I was so desperate, I was applying for personal loans. 3 massive lessons that I've learned. I'm William Bitter. This is my channel, Money Thoughts. Money Thoughts. I grew up in New York City, poor, with a single mother who was an artist. We lived on food stamps. Before I had a concept of the value of money, I used to think ramen noodles were expensive. By the time I was 11, I ended up in foster care. Throughout my childhood, I always worked and saved, and having money was always a priority for me. Later, when it came time to apply for colleges, I used my foster care story to secure a full scholarship. My plan was to get a master's in economics, to better understand money, and honestly, to get rich. When I graduated, I was 23 years old and I already had a savings of $60,000 and no student loans. I knew that I wanted to make money and get rich, but first, I was worried that I would get stuck on the corporate ladder, so I packed a backpack and hopped on a one-way flight to Bangkok, Thailand. I had no rigid plans, but my goal was just to chase every bucket list dream that I ever had. And I ended up traveling for nearly 2 years and spent 2/3 of my life savings. After living a life of pure exploration, chasing every interest that I had, and learning that this lifestyle only cost me $2,000, I moved back to New York City. When I saw people living in $10 million apartments, whose property tax alone was probably $3,000 a month, and seeing that these people were still not setting themselves free and chasing the lives of their dreams, but rather chasing more and more material, I promised myself that I wouldn't get lost in this rat race, that I would set a goal, achieve it, and then set myself free. My goal was $400,000. At this amount, with 10% returns, I could generate $40,000 a year. And with a budget of only $24,000 a year, $40,000 should be more than enough to reach financial independence. For me, personally, financial independence is a state of mind, where I know that I could live my life happily without needing to work for money. For 10 plus years, I've tracked my assets and liabilities in a wealth tracker and retirement planner. This is the tool that I used on my journey, and you too can check it out by clicking the link below. My first 6 months back in New York City, I spent networking my way into an investment banking role. This aligned with my interests of business and investing and seemed like a sure path to make lots of money. When I finally got the opportunity that I thought I wanted, it was awful. 90 hours a week, abusive work environment, and soul-sucking energy, leaving no space for one's humanity. March 2016, I was 25 years old, net worth $15,000, the lowest it had ever been as an adult. This was not long before I left my investment banking job to create my own dog walking business. Dog walking had been my college job and had always brought me joy, and if I'm being honest, it paid better than my bottom bitch analyst job at the small investment bank. August 2016, I would take a trip to Iceland before putting 100% of my energy into my dog walking business. I was 26 years old. By January 2017, my net worth had already doubled to $32,000. It was around this time that I began to pump significant amounts of cash into the stock market. Okay, fast forward to March of 2020, the dawn of COVID. I had been working around the clock building my dog walking business and saving and investing every penny. My net worth reached $335,000. The plan was working. But then, within days, I watched $50,000 in value get wiped out. My first time experiencing a large correction with this much skin in the game. My nest egg dropped from $335,000 to $280,000. Watching 55K vanish was thrilling. 4 years earlier, that was 4 times my entire net worth. And I knew this would happen again. It was part of the plan. The volatility is the price that you pay for long-term gains. By May 2020, it rebounds to $400,000. This was a huge milestone. I reached my first retirement goal, what I set out to when I promised myself that I wouldn't get lost in the rat race. At this moment, I could likely survive off my assets without having to work again. I had the freedom to quit if I wanted to. It was at that time that I meditated on my purpose. If money wasn't a factor, what would I want to do with my time? That's when I decided to launch my YouTube channel, to share my experience and inspire others that if this New York City dog walker could escape the rat race, then so could anyone else. By by simply budgeting, saving, and investing. October 2020, my net worth is at $500,000. Things are going better than expected. Just a quick side note in case anyone doesn't know what margin is. Margin is when you borrow against your stock portfolio, usually at a pretty low rate, but your assets are used as collateral for that loan. So if the stock market crashes, your brokerage can force you to sell your stocks, usually at all-time lows, in order to ensure they collect their money that's owed. With margin rates at 2% and mortgage rates at 3%, money is basically free. So I buy a property in Colorado completely on margin. Just bought this house. Can't believe it's mine. Holy crap. Oh yeah, do you guys see this bedroom? I don't know. $10 painting at Goodwill. It's beautiful. Based on my numbers, I expect an ROI of roughly 40% in the best case or 10% in the worst case. With a cost of debt of 3%, this seems like a no-brainer to me. December of 2020, I'm 30 years old and my net worth is $600,000. I buy a Tesla Performance Model 3. This is the first car I've ever bought, by the way. This is my first time ever buying a car. I can't believe that this car is mine. And I do it completely using margin with dirt cheap interest rates. My original plan is to rent it out on Turo and have it pay for itself. You can check out videos that I made on this. My thoughts were, worst case scenario, if the market crashes, I can just sell my Tesla and sell the property to pay off the margin. And my thinking is that the car and the house are both less volatile assets, and so they're less likely to lose 50% of their value overnight, like stocks have a tendency to do. That's the doomsday plan, but in the best case scenario, my home pays for itself with no initial cost to me. My entire down payment was borrowed using margin, and the car ends up paying for itself by renting it out on Turo. Okay, fast forward to March 2021. My YouTube channel picked up with my tiny apartment video going viral. There was one day that I made $305 from YouTube. Had that income continued, that would be enough income for me to never work again, simply from YouTube. But my YouTube income did come back to reality, and the $305 in one day was my peak income from YouTube. June 2021, my net worth is $650,000. The way things are going, I don't think I ever need to work again. And you only live once, right? So I strike a deal to hand off my dog walking business in exchange for some passive income, and I hit the road in my Tesla. The plan, travel the world indefinitely and make YouTube videos about how simple and easy it is to save and invest and live the life of your dreams. Imagine this, hanging out with my family, Christmas 2021, my net worth is $930,000. Things couldn't be better. But then, the Fed raises interest rates. Stocks tank. I'm traveling, watching my portfolio plummet for months. By May 2022, I'm back to $650,000. I sell my Tesla Model 3. The original plan was to pay off the margin if this happened, but greed takes over. I take half the proceeds from selling the car to pay off margin, and the other half I use to buy more Tesla stock. I thought it would bounce. Huge pullback opportunity, right? Then I jump on a plane to South America, where it's cheap to travel and I no longer need a vehicle. While I'm traveling South America, my net worth continues to slide. Within 1 year, the following Christmas, my net worth from all-time highs the previous Christmas is down 72%, from $930,000 all the way down to $260,000. That's 45 times my 2016 net worth. Imagine this, I'm home with my family for the holidays after crazy adventures traveling in South America, and of all times, this is when shit really hits the fan. I'm literally teetering on the edge of margin calls. I'm like shuffling all my cash accounts and wire transferring every drop of liquid cash into my brokerage account to bolster the equity balance and avoid a margin call. I was so desperate, I was applying for personal loans, but the process of getting a personal loan was not fast enough. Reluctantly, I'm put in a corner where I must strategically sell some of my equities to avoid dumping my highest conviction bets at all-time lows. Sadly, I sold my one Bitcoin at all-time lows, somewhere between $15,000 and $20,000. I dumped $20,000 in Apple and Google, anticipating that these were less volatile and Tesla would likely rebound higher. I listed my home for sale and took $80,000 in personal loans to bridge access to the funds that I planned to get when my home sold. Sounds intense, right? It fucking was. Before I could sell my house in Colorado, Tesla had already rebounded from $100 a share all the way back up to $260. So I went back to the drawing board. I no longer needed to sell my house. I expected an ROI of 30 to 40% versus the personal loan that was charging me 12%. Plan B, or maybe even Plan C. I would keep my house and go back to work for my dog walking business in order to pay off my high interest personal loans. August 2023, I'm 33 years old. My net worth had already rebounded back to $618,000, confirming my decision to take on personal loans and hold on to my stocks. April 2024, back down to $453,000, no longer fazed by my net worth swinging up and down by hundreds of thousands of dollars. By June 2024, I was back at $550,000 and had paid off all my high interest personal loans. And there I am, back above my original retirement goal. But I decided to move the goalpost to $2 million. But why? I mean, don't get stuck in the rat race, right? Compound returns are more powerful the earlier you start. And I decided I want a large buffer that the market could crash and I could increase my budget and I would still have financial freedom. A 50% crash on $2 million leaves $1 million. And 10% returns gives me $100,000 a year. At this expected return, I could triple my current expenses and let's say start a family or pay for all my bucket list adventures and still not need to work. But honestly, my goal is freedom. YouTube, pickleball, relationships, not necessarily quitting early, but rather doing what you love with your time. December 16th, 2024, my net worth reached $1,116,000. For the first time in my life, I'm a millionaire, a concept that since I was a child I felt was so important that I achieve. Reflecting back at the hard work, the ups and downs, it felt so good in this moment. But I took a deep breath. No panic selling, no panic buying. Nothing really changed in that moment. I was still eating chicken over rice with my friends for $10, my favorite halal spot in New York City. But just knowing that I reached and exceeded the level of freedom that I had originally set out for gave me so much bliss. April 2025, my net worth dips back to $600,000. I never thought that I could lose $500,000 on paper and be so chill about it. Meanwhile, everyone I know is freaking out. Only months later, late summer 2025, basically now, my net worth has been bouncing around $900,000. October 2025, my net worth reaches $1.2 million. Still dog walking, still loving it, and currently I'm just focusing on being happy with a less adventurous life and building balanced and sustainable routines that I enjoy that make me happy living here in New York City. From this experience, I just learned that any goal that you set out, you can accomplish. And so I'm just trying to be very mindful about where I'm focusing my time and energy on. And I'd really like to start making more YouTube videos. So I appreciate any support from you guys. To wrap up, there's 3 massive lessons that I've learned from this roller coaster. Number 1, be extremely cautious of margin. It's a double-edged sword. Make sure that the worst case scenario can't wipe you out. This could mean being able to withstand a 90% drop like the dot-com bubble. It's not a matter of if the worst case scenario happens, but when will it happen and will you be able to survive it? All right, number 2, don't tie illiquid assets like real estate to volatile ones like stocks. Stocks move way faster than you can sell a house. 3, the final and main lesson here is that long-term buying and holding is a winning strategy, but you need to ensure you can hold your investments long-term. Emergencies or market corrections shouldn't force you to sell at possible lows. This means having an emergency fund, access to capital, and avoiding large margin balances. All right, guys, thank you for joining me on my financial journey. What about you? Have you ever endured a market crash or financial loss? What's the most money you've ever lost, and what did you learn from that experience? Comment down below, and remember,
save and invest your money.